Welcome to Star Chat, the podcast where we dive into the latest developments in space exploration and technology. I'm your host, Carl, and I'm excited to share some fascinating stories with you today. We've got a lot to cover, from updates on SpaceX's Starlink constellation to the latest news on Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket. But first, let's talk about a recent launch that might have raised some eyebrows. AST Space Mobile, a company competing with SpaceX's direct-to-cell communication service, launched 3 Bluebird satellites on a dedicated mission aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket. Yes, you heard that right. A competitor to SpaceX is using their own rocket to get into space. The satellites are designed to link up with unmodified smartphones on Earth, and this launch marks a significant step forward for the company. In other news, Amazon's low Earth orbit internet constellation is waiting for its next big launch. With hundreds of flight-ready satellites standing idle in Florida, the company is relying on European rocket provider Arianespace to get them into space. The Ariane 6 rocket has come through for Amazon so far, and a recent mission even set a new lift record for Europe. But not all is well in the world of space launches. Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket suffered a major setback last month when it exploded on the launch pad, causing significant damage. However, the company is already rebuilding and aiming to resume launches by the end of the year. NASA is watching closely, as the New Glenn rocket is a key part of its Artemis program to return U.S. astronauts to the moon. We'll be right back with more fascinating space news on Star Chat. Welcome back to Star Chat. Today, we're exploring some fascinating stories from the world of space and science. Let's dive into our middle segment, where we'll be discussing 2 intriguing topics that have caught our attention. First up, imagine holding a piece of history in your hand, a fragment of something that existed long before our sun was even born. That's exactly what scientists have found in the Murchison meteorite, which fell to Earth back in 1969. This meteorite contains pre-solar silicon carbide grains, essentially stardust, that formed roughly 7 billion years ago. To put that into perspective, these grains are older than our solar system itself. The process of dating these grains involves studying their exposure to cosmic rays, which provides a kind of celestial clock that reveals their age. Moving on to another captivating story, let's talk about the ultimate fate of our planet. For a long time, it was believed that Earth would eventually be engulfed by the sun as it expands into a red giant. However, new research suggests that this might not be the case. Scientists have been studying the sun's evolution and its impact on the planets, particularly focusing on the balance between tidal interactions and mass loss due to stellar winds. According to their findings, if the sun loses enough mass, Earth could potentially escape being engulfed and move into a larger orbit. This is a complex dance between gravitational forces and the sun's diminishing mass, and it's fascinating to think about how our planet's fate hangs in this delicate balance. It's also worth noting that while Earth might be spared, Mercury and Venus are not so lucky, destined to be swallowed by the expanding sun. Meanwhile, Mars, like Earth, could escape this fiery demise. The journey of our solar system is a long and evolving story, with each discovery adding more depth to our understanding of the cosmos. Welcome back to Star Chat. We've had an exciting show so far, but we're not done yet. As we wrap up today's episode, let's talk about something that's been making headlines in the SpaceX and tech communities, SpaceX. Following its historic IPO on June 12th, which made Elon Musk a trillionaire, the company's stock price took a bit of a dive after announcing the acquisition of AI coding agent Cursor from Anysphere for a whopping $60 billion. Now, you might be wondering how this affects SpaceX's stock price. Well, initially, the stock soared to over $170 on the day of the IPO and even hit a high above $225 just a few days later. However, after the acquisition announcement, the price fell by 5% and then another 3.75% the following day. As of today, the share price is at $185, which is still well above its initial IPO price. But here's the interesting part. Some analysts believe that SpaceX might be overvalued. Morningstar, an investor research firm, estimates that the company's fair value is around $62 per share, with a best-case scenario pricing shares at $169. That would put the stock price lower than it is today, but still higher than its IPO price. On the other hand, not everyone agrees that SpaceX is overvalued. Investment bank Oppenheimer & Co. has actually raised its projection for SpaceX stock from $190 to $250 following the acquisition announcement. According to analyst Timothy Horan, SpaceX's ownership of every layer of the AI stack gives it a significant cost and quality advantage, and Cursor is a major component of that. So, what does this mean for the future of SpaceX's stock price? Will it continue to soar, or will it dip lower? Only time will tell. One thing's for sure, though. As long as Elon Musk remains a trillionaire, he'll be keeping a close eye on the company's finances. That's all for today's Star Chat. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and, until next time, remember to keep looking up at the stars.